In the vaults of the French National Library lies a contract, sealed by 6 demons and 1 priest, dated 1634, signed in the priest's own blood. It isn't folklore, it's an exhibit, part of a trial that ended with the priest condemned to the fire, and a city convinced it had been visited by the devil. The strange part isn't that they found a contract with hell, it's that 8 nuns, who swore at trial that the priest had signed it, never met him outside their dreams. Whatever it is, hysteria or hell, it turned faith into fuel and burnt a holy man alive. 2 years earlier, 1632, Loudun, a walled market town on France's western plain, had just buried half its people. The plague left its houses boarded, its wells sealed with lime. When King Louis XIII's soldiers came to demolish the walls, a royal order meant to break Protestant power, resentment simmered under every roof. Inside the Ursuline convent, 17 cloistered nuns locked their gates. They were daughters of noble families, educated, obedient, terrified of infection. Their confessor had died of the plague. The chapel smelt of vinegar and incense. That's where it began. Mother Jeanne d'Ange said she saw a black figure standing at the foot of her bed, wearing priest's robes, face smooth as wax, hands folded in prayer. The next night another sister woke to the same outline in her door. The night after that, the convent began to change. From behind the walls came the scraping of nails on stone. Wooden bedsteads shuddered and rose from the floor. Lamps guttered, though the air was still. A black mist was seen drifting through the corridors, slow as breath, thick enough to blur the painted saints. One nun opened her fist to find 3 hawthorn thorns driven into her palm, still wet with blood. Such details appeared in the official exorcist deposition, signed and dated. Days passed with no sleep, only whispered prayers and the sound of doors bolted from inside. When the chaplain arrived with holy water and the sign of the cross, the calm broke. The nuns began to tremble, then scream, their voices twisting into one another. The silent prayers turned to shrieking, bodies convulsed, limbs bent backwards. Witnesses wrote they walked upon hands and feet like beasts. Their tongues blackened, yet they cursed in perfect Latin. Doctors called it hysteria. Priests called it infestation from hell. Private exorcisms failed, so the priest ordered them public. The convent chapel, once closed to the world, became a theatre of pain and spectacle. Broadsheets advertised the possessed of Loudun. By winter, crowds were arriving from Poitiers and even London. Diaries described nuns screaming obscenities at a packed nave, then collapsing when relics touched their skin. When asked who had bought the demons, the answer came in a dozen voices at once. A name, clear, unbroken, that echoed off the walls. Urbain Grandier. He was Loudun's parish priest, brilliant, proud, and impossible to ignore. Educated in theology and fluent in Latin, admired for his sermons and despised for his arrogance. He mocked the church's vows of celibacy, fathered at least one child, and written pamphlets ridiculing Cardinal Richelieu, the most powerful man in France after the king. As chief minister to King Louis XIII, Richelieu ruled the kingdom through decree and fear. Defying him meant exile, the Bastille, or death disguised as justice. None of the nuns had ever met Grandier in person. By the time they spoke his name aloud, he had enemies in every pulpit and every hall of power. Grandier was 42. Court records list multiple affairs, one with the prosecutor's daughter. By the time the nuns spoke his name, Richelieu already wanted him gone. His envoy, Baron de la Baudemont, rode to Loudun with a royal warrant and soldiers. Within days, Grandier was under guard. He pleaded for the nuns to be isolated and examined, a rational test that might have ended it all, but his request was ignored. Instead, the exorcists pressed the demons for proof. They answered in grotesque logic. Each spirit ruled a different organ, Asmodeus in the stomach, Leviathan in the brain. Their statements were transcribed by notaries and sealed with wax. But the priest demanded names of higher rank, the ones commanding the rest, and soon a folded parchment was produced from beneath the high altar, a pact offering Grandier 20 years of earthly pleasure in exchange for his soul. Mirror-written Latin, reversed as if for a looking glass. Across its surface were sigils, symbols, and 6 names: Lucifer, Beelzebub, Satan, Leviathan, Elimi, Astaroth. Beneath them, a witness line: Balberith, Secretary of Hell. To us, Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Satan are the same name, but in the demonologies of the 17th century, they were ranked officers in the same infernal court. Pride, corruption, and wrath, given separate seals. Listing them all made the pact look official, as if hell itself had signed in triplicate. At the bottom, another signature, Urbain Grandier, in a hand the judges claimed was his. You can still see that page discoloured by time, its blood spots turned black, preserved in the Bibliothèque Nationale de France. Line 23 promises,
"The flower of virgins and the favour of princes."
Line 41 calls for annual sacrifice,
"In sign of obedience to Lucifer."
Grandier never confessed, but at the tribunal, 19 judges, all loyal to Richelieu, declared him guilty. No appeal allowed. Sentence: torture, public penance, and death by fire. At dawn, guards strapped iron boots around his legs. Wooden wedges were hammered between the metal and bone until marrow seeped through his stockings. Still, he refused to sign a confession. Witnesses recorded his words, "My only pact is with God." That afternoon, more than 6,000 people filled Loudun Square. Grandier, barefoot, rope around his neck, held a candle and begged forgiveness, as the ritual demanded. They promised to strangle him before the fire was lit. They lied. Father Lactance, chief exorcist, snatched the torch and lit the pyre himself. When Grandier tried to speak, the monks drowned him out with Te Deum Laudamus. A gust of wind blew the flames sideways. Witnesses said they saw his lips still moving inside the fire. When it was over, his ashes were thrown into the Loire. Immediately rumours spread. Richelieu staged the entire trial and the possessions to silence the priest who mocked him. Loudun and its priest had been brutally brought to heel. If that's true, it would have ended here. It didn't. Within weeks, Father Lactance, the man who lit the flames, collapsed whilst saying Mass in the Ursuline chapel, the same place where the possessions had begun. Another exorcist died soon after. The nuns said the demons were taking revenge. The skeptics whispered that guilt had killed them. Yet the possessions continued. For 3 more years the nuns convulsed under the gaze of pilgrims and scribes. A Jesuit, Father Jean-Joseph Surin, arrived in 1635 and tried a different approach: compassion. He prayed beside Mother Jean, even begging the devil to enter him instead. His letters survive. In one of them he wrote, "The spirit passed from her body into mine. Since then, peace eludes me." He lived a further decade, half paralyzed, murmuring prayers between silences. In 1637, Mother Jean was declared cured. She claimed the names Jesus, Mary, Joseph and Francis de Sales appeared engraved upon her hand. Crowds queued to see the marks. Urbain Grandier's ashes are gone, but the contract remains: ink-mirrored, blood-flecked, and signatures of 6 demons and 1 man. It's still filed under Manuscripts Occultes 1634 in the National Library of France. Every time it's retranslated, the words stay the same.
We, the rulers of hell, confirm our covenant with Urbain Grandier.
Whether that was a pact with the devil, or more terrifying, that the devil is already buried somewhere in our minds, this story has never left Loudun. But darkness doesn't stay in one place. Exactly 100 years after Loudun, the Austrian Empire sent soldiers and physicians to investigate reports of the dead rising from their graves. That report still exists, filed in the Austrian State Archives. Its subject, the vampire plague of Medvedjar. It became the moment Europe believed, and it's waiting for you in the archive. I'm Nico, and I'll meet you in the next case.